In the heart of the city, deep within an abandoned subway tunnel, a group of minions have stumbled upon something truly bizarre, a vintage vinyl record player with a stack of seemingly random records. Kevin, the ever-curious leader of the minions, picks up the record label The Earthquake Shuffle and asks Stuart, the self-proclaimed expert on all things music, to put it on. As the needle drops, a loud, distorted voice booms, "Welcome to the greatest party of all time." Then just as abruptly, the music cuts out. Puzzled by this strange new contraption, the minions decide to experiment. They push the record player around the room, but the music only plays near the machine. So they take their investigation underground into the ventilation shaft. But as soon as they enter, the music stops. Realizing that the sound follows them, the minions come to the conclusion that the music is somehow attracted to their leader. Kevin, thinking this must be some kind of test, Kevin runs away from his friends, but the music follows him, causing widespread destruction along the way. Meanwhile, deep in the bowels of the city, a tiny light begins to flicker on. Bob, the smallest and most adorable of the minions, decides to take a nap, only to wake up inside a giant metal box. Startled, he tries to escape, but the walls are too smooth and slick and he quickly runs out of air. Just when he's about to give up hope, he spots a small hole and squeezes through it, tumbling head over heels onto a pile of old records. Back in the ventilation shaft, Kevin is still running for his life from the persistent music. He jumps from pipe to pipe, narrowly avoiding disaster as buildings collapse and streets split apart. In a moment of inspiration, he grabs onto a rope and swings across the chasm, landing safely on the other side. But his respite is short-lived as the music starts playing again, this time with a sinister new beat. Suddenly, a giant trash can lid comes flying towards him and knocks him out cold. When Kevin wakes up, he finds himself in a dark and dank sewer. He calls out for his friends, but there's no reply. Just then, a small figure emerges from the shadows and introduces himself as Phil, a minion who was separated from the group during the escape from the laboratory. Together, they set off to find the others, with Phil explaining that he has a plan to stop the Earthquake Shuffle once and for all. At the surface, Stuart is trying to get the Earthquake Shuffle to stop by dancing, but it's not working. Phil and Kevin arrive just in time to see him get zapped by an electrical wire and knocked into the street. Realizing that their friend is in danger, the minions jump into action, pushing Stuart out of the way just as a car swerves towards him. Safe at last, the three amigos make their way to the abandoned subway tunnel, hoping to destroy the record player and put an end to this nightmare. But when they arrive, they find that it's been destroyed. And as the sun rises, they hear the sound of police sirens in the distance. The minions run for their lives, with the Earthquake Shuffle now an ominous soundtrack to their desperate flight. They hide in a nearby construction site, watching as the city slowly wakes up. In the morning light, Bob is discovered by a young girl who brings him home and introduces him to her pet hamster, which she also found in the sewers. Bob, always up for an adventure, immediately begins helping her build a tree house for her and her hamster to live in. Meanwhile, Phil, Stuart, and Kevin are trying to rebuild the Earthquake Shuffle so they can destroy it properly. But as they work, they realize that the real party isn't over yet. There's still one more song left on the record.